You know, when I was in business school, the most horrible subject of all was accounting. You know, I was sound asleep in accounting course. And on top of that, I argued with the accounting teacher because the accounting teacher had no idea what accounting was. The guy was an idiot. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is more appropriate today because if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this is all it's about. It's about a financial statement. Income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flow. How could it not be relevant when 99% of all people graduating from school don't even know what a financial statement is? And if they do, they probably had the same accounting teacher I had, Mr. Boring, who wasn't really an accountant. He had a master's in accountancy, but he had never been an accountant. So that's why I created the cash flow board game, because accounting is the most important subject for individuals, because this is what your banker wants to see. Your banker wants to see your financial statement. This is your report card when you leave school. If you have good financial statement, bankers will give you all the money you want. See, bankers have never asked me for my grades or my college I went through. I want to say this. You have this, they'll give you all the money you want. Point out really, really quickly the differences between what they're teaching in school and what we at Rich Dad teach. So this is the very big difference. Like I said, most school teachers are like my poor dad. And this was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What you're seeing here is a financial statement. Mm-hmm. You know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book on accounting, the most boring subject on planet Earth. But book number 2 of Rich Dad was this one here. This was called the cash flow quadrant, right? You have E, S, B, and I. So, test for you. What does E stand for?
Employee.
Good. And what do employees always say?
That they work for money.
But they want job security,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Paycheck, and pension.
Yes.
Okay. What does S stand for?
Self-employed.
They're small business owners.
Yes.
Doctors, lawyers.
They work for tips.
They work for tips now. So they're self-employed. Mm-hmm. And B stands for what?
Big business owners.
So 500 employees or more.
Yeah.
And I stands for what?
The investor.
Investor. It's more than just investor, it's insider. You see, this is like Shark Tank on the TV shows. These guys here have done this and they've done this. So this was my poor dad, this side. This was Rich Dad here. So the difference, that's what schools are not teaching you, is what's the difference between these people and these people. That's the big difference. And that shows up. So when I was about your age, I had to make a decision. I was a pilot. You know, most of my friends went to fly for the airlines, but I'd be here. Or I could be, I could be in Alaska flying fishermen around the place, a pilot with a small plane and, flying around the place. Or I could own an airlines, or I could invest in airlines. And that's the difference in the mindsets and skill sets. You don't just make crossings. The education is extremely different on this side than on this side here. What does school teach you about money? Nothing. Balancing a checkbook. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. So the other part of when you look at this financial statement up here, that's what your banker wants to see. Your banker doesn't care about your grades. Banker doesn't care what school you went to. I meet so many people say, oh, my banker won't give me any money. This is because you don't have one of these. And when you look at most of the politicians today, they don't have one of these either. The U.S. government doesn't have one of these anymore. They stopped doing this because of the U.S. government, the budget is so out of balance, they can't do anything. So that's why, 22 years ago, in 1996, I created the cash flow board game. The purpose of this, so people could teach people what our school systems will never teach you. Never. Because they don't know it. Because evidence is now coming out that the school system was hijacked by the ultra-rich years and years ago to never teach people what I know, what my rich dad taught me. So that's why most of our political leaders are broke. They're poor people. Who makes the most? The politicians, they got paychecks for life, they get benefits for life, and they got all this stuff, but they're doing a horrible job. So you're going to depend upon the government to take care of you? That's crazy. You know, a lot of people don't like Trump. You know, I understand why. But he really understands this stuff. I know because he's my friend. We wrote 2 books together. This is how the rich think. Even if you hate Trump, and Trump doesn't pay taxes. That's why he doesn't want to show you his tax returns. I mean, you got to be crazy. So they'll never teach you this in school. And there's a reason for it, to keep you working harder and harder and harder. So we created this board game here. As you play it 100 times, your brain will change because you're doing something. The game is changing all the time in front of you. It's not invest for the long term of the stock market. I hope it works for you, but you know, markets crash every 10 years. So I like this game a lot better. This is the real game of life here. So the point here is this: people can teach people. Don't expect the government to take care of you. That's ridiculous.